Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar session. I am Oloja Oluwatosin, and I'll be your host for today. I'm so excited to have you join us to explore on the topic on effective communication for startup teams. And I'm sure by the end of this session, we'll have gained insight and a lot of useful information from our expert speaker for today. As your host, I'll be guiding the conversation, moderating the question and answer, and ensuring we cover all points. But before we begin, I would like us to know that we have some housekeeping rules we adhere to here in Secure Intelligence Limited. Firstly, please note that all session is being recorded and all recordings will be uploaded on social media channels. So in case you miss any part of this webinar, you want to watch it again, you can go to our YouTube channel, every other social media channels to see it again. Attendees can react or raise hands during the presentations, and other engagement required from attendees is at the discretion of the presenter. Also, if you have any question or you want to make a reaction or you want to give a comment, there are some icons below your screen, and please do well to make use of these icons. Please make use of the reaction icon so that we know that you're following with us and you're engaging with us. Um, in the question and answer section, please note that there is a link where you can book a consultation meeting with any of our expert consultants. Moving on, I would like to introduce Secure Intelligence Limited to us, and most importantly, for those of us joining for the first time today, it is important that you are acquainted with us and you know what we do here in Secure Intelligence Limited. And Secure Intelligence Limited is a technology consulting company. We are specialized in helping businesses build digital viable products and solutions. We take advantage of technology to help businesses derive effectiveness, agility, and we are very particular about growth. We are also AWS partners, and this means that we utilize AWS services for business aims, objectives, and goals. Moving on, we'll be going into the agenda for today. But before we go into the agenda today, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, person of Leo. Leo is an expert, he is a highly experienced engineering lead here in Secure Intelligence Limited. And when it comes to effective experience, is a great practitioner and is very professional about it. So Leo will be taking us through what to expect for the rest of this session. Leo, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Are you there?
Good afternoon, Thomas. And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar for today on effective communication for startup teams. I'll go straight into the agenda. We're going to start with what is communication. What is communication? Why does communication matter? How we should communicate, the art of active listening, feedback, non-verbal communication, choosing the right tools, best practices for using these tools, remote work and distributed teams, cultural and language differences, conflict resolutions, and then some key takeaways before we take questions. So let's dive straight in. What is communication? According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it is the process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. So, communicating effectively is simply exchanging ideas, thoughts, opinions, knowledge clearly, right, and with purpose. So the ability to communicate effectively It's passing information across to others with clarity and purpose. Now, why does communication matter? Why do we even need to communicate in the first place in startup teams? It helps to improve our team culture. Okay? Team culture. It fosters trust and collaboration. Because we communicate properly, we do things together. We now become less like co-workers and more like families. Right? It also facilitates innovation and collaboration. So it encourages idea sharing. Because we communicate effectively, I'm able to quickly bring up solutions to things without being, worried of being shut down or being worried of, oh, the boss is in the room. He might find my idea stupid, right? But since there's effective communication, everyone brings ideas, and trust me, no idea is stupid. In the bunch of solutions coming forward, you'll find really creative solutions. So it facilitates innovation and collaboration. Now, it also enhances productivity and efficiency. How does it do this? The clearer the instructions, the lesser the mistakes you make. So this in turn can improve productivity in your teams. Information flow can actually speed up processes. A Peter is trying to get information across to a Paul, and he sends your information through a Jane, for instance, and Jane doesn't talk to Paul. That information might not get to Paul for a very long time, which would be very costly to your business. So there has to be that, bond and effective communication between everyone in your teams. It also can help to reduce misunderstanding and conflicts. Everyone has opinions, and yes, they may be right in their own, rights. But if there's no effective communication, these, personal opinions can cause conflicts and can escalate pretty fast. So effective communication is actually very, very important. We'll take a scenario of two companies, a use case. You have a company A and a company B. Let us assume a company A actually communicates effectively. That can improve their total productivity and innovation. But a company B that communicates poorly can have project delays and increased cost. Now, say for instance, you run a digital marketing startup and you get money off a client, say 10,000 USD for some digital artifacts, and you're supposed to deliver this in 4 weeks. Now, your teams not being able to communicate properly within itself and the client might end up not being able to deliver in 4 weeks. Now, if that does not happen in 4 weeks, the delay might eventually stretch up to 2 months. Now, do you already see that we've put ourselves in a bad position? The company's image is already at stake. They've lost that client, most likely, right? And the referrals, if you have bought for that client, they've also lost the referrals as well. But in this scenario, do you also see that they lose money? I mean, if you get what I just said, can you just give me a thumbs up? Do you see they actually lose money? Do you think they lose money in this scenario? Anyone? Okay. So I'll explain what I mean by they actually lose money. They lose money in the sense that if you are taking 10K for a 4 weeks job, and then you do that same job in 8 weeks, that means you've actually taken 5K for 4 weeks as opposed to the original 10K, right? Simply, you have lost money. Okay. So even beyond the fact that we lose that client, we also lose money. So delays doesn't help our business. Delays leads to increased cost, and and delays are things that can be caused by poor communication. If, for instance, company A, very effective one, the communication, deliver that same project in 2 weeks instead of a month, what happens? That means they just made 5K a week in returns, right? So you see the importance and how it can affect our business. How should we communicate?
Okay, I found this on the web for Importance Kitchen.
We should communicate in clear and concise words. Avoid using jargons. Use simple English that everyone understands. Don't try to be too smart. Yes, there are times where you might want to use, the lingua in your space and, some high complex vocabulary, right? Maybe you're trying to sell and, sales sometimes those kind of things are required, right? But when you're having this communication with the wider audience and your team, use clear and concise words that can be understood by everyone. Okay, so imagine the scenario on the example on the screen. We say we need to leverage our synergies to optimize the workflow. We need to leverage our synergies to optimize the workflow. If you agree with me that that's correct, can you just give me a thumbs up? Can I see your hand? If you agree that's correct. Okay, so that right there is actually correct. But look at the other one. It says we need to work together to improve our process. Can we see the difference already? No matter how the level of English the recipient has, they would understand we need to work together to improve our process, as opposed to we need to leverage our synergies to optimize the workflow. Now, another scenario could be, let's say we're part of one big team, and I come and I'm like, so yesterday was BAU. So today I expect that we should stop there. What's BAU? Now, if I have been a part of the team for a very long time, I already know what BAU is, right? Oh, business as usual, right? But there are some people that might have joined that team with different level of experiences and level of English and the lingua in that field of business. Do you think you'll be doing them any good passing information like that? Or what people say, oh, so we don't have any. So do you have any? Do you have AOB, right? Another acronym, or send that to me by COB, another acronym, or SOP. We have all these things. Because I just said, oh, close of business or any other business or standard operating procedures, right? So these are things that you might find normal in your workplace and you expect everyone to understand. Okay, so yes, you can use those things because they are for your particular space and business, but realize that not everyone, okay, the assumption that everyone understands you is actually wrong. The assumption that, oh, everyone understands you is actually an error. So do how to, use the words, a couple of times together. Let's send out to my COB, that's close of business, right? Just reiterate and make sure that everyone understands what you're trying to say. It's very important because that's the way we can communicate effectively. Now let's talk about the art of active listening. You should listen to understand. Okay? Don't listen to criticize. Listen to understand. Focus on the speaker. Do not interrupt the speaker because interrupting people can make them lose their train of thought. And you would not get as much as you are supposed to get from that conversation. So we should learn to listen properly. Do not interrupt. And at the end, paraphrase. Okay? Repeat the words in your own words. What you heard in your own words. Oh, so I heard you saying that that's, should be black, right? And then the person can be like, oh, no, I didn't say black. I meant a lighter shade of black. You just got a clarification there, which means you have saved yourself the time you'd have used to create something black and bring it back and they'll be like, oh, no, I didn't ask for black. Right? And ask questions when you are not sure or when you need more, understanding. Now, when it comes to feedback, you're either receiving feedback or you're giving feedback. But when you are giving feedback, it has to be constructive. You need to be specific and focused on the behavior and not the person you are giving the feedback to. Okay? Use the SBI model. Situation, behavior, and impact. Right? You capture a situation, make sure it's really clear, describe the behaviors you observed, and then explain the impacts of that behavior on you. That's the SBI model. So when you're also receiving feedback, be sure that you keep an open mind and ask for clarification when needed. Say, for example, I'm a product manager and I have, team members, and one of them promised to deliver something yesterday. They didn't deliver. Today again, they still did not deliver. And we're in a room, all 10 of us or something, and I'm breathing fire, and I tell you, hey, Tom, why would you do this? It doesn't make sense anymore. I can't take this. What's even your problem? And the guy is like, oh, no, actually, don't actually mean. What do you mean by that? We need to stop making excuses and get this in across to me. I'm not going to get this. I'm not going to take this from you anymore. Tomorrow, ensure I get this. And then you ignore him and you move on. Now, he has some communication skills, so he tries not to interrupt at that very time. Because trust me, if he responds at that time, why tempers are hot, you get full-blown conflict at your hands. But now let's assume that he relaxes, right? And meets you back later. And when he meets you on a one-on-one and he says, come, listen, don't talk to me. I'm not your child, dude. I don't like the way you talk to me. Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Conflict is still sure to come, right? It's still brewing, conflict. But what if he comes back and he kind of captures the situation, like you said earlier? Oh, this morning, when we're talking about the product delivery, that feature we talked about, right? Clarified the behavior. Now, the way you handled this, right? You actually kind of belittled me. You were just, you kind of sounded really harsh, and your tone, right? That's the behavior and the impact. Now, it made me feel really sad because I was trying to tell you that yesterday I was at the hospital. Now, picture that scenario. That was the SBI model used there, right? But he has been able to pass that information across without like singling out the person. Okay? He instead picks the situation, the behavior of that person in that situation, and the impact it had on him. Now, it's easier for this kind of scenario to end well. let's talk about non-verbal communication. This is very powerful. Okay, your body language does a lot, sometimes way more than your voice. How are you, acting when in communication with people? How do you put yourself? What's your facial expression? Your tone of voice? Yeah, being told something very exciting, and you'll be like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, sure. It sends a message already, right? It sends a message already. So it's important that in our teams, we are very conscious of the non-verbal cues. Even in sales, I remember once upon a time when we used to do some hardware and stuff, they'll tell you when someone calls you for, let's say someone has to fix your computer, for instance, and they show up with just a screwdriver without saying a word, and they start working.
Hello, Leo. Can you hear me?
Sorry. When did you guys lose me? Okay. All right. So I was talking about a use case, right? Imagine someone comes to fix your computer and they come with just one screwdriver. Okay. Now they jump in and start working on your PC. That's case study one. Now, case study two, someone comes to fix your computer, he comes with a full backpack. He gets there, he says, give me a space to work. You give him a table. He empties his bag. All sets of screwdrivers, extra screws, external hard disk, that's also communication, right? I mean, you can already tell that this second guy knows his work. First, you think that naturally. And then you also know that he might be expensive, right? Those tools didn't come cheap. If you've ever experienced it, like, can I say thumbs up? Anybody experienced that before? Those scenarios where the person communicated without actually talking. Exactly, right? So we need to ensure our startup teams are able to communicate, properly, both in voice, in their speech, and their body language and facial expressions. Because people will read way more meaning into our non-verbal cues than our speech most times. Now, choosing the right tools. You could have synchronous tools or asynchronous tools. They simply mean synchronous is real time. You have immediate feedback, right? Like I can say, oh, if you can hear me right now, give me a thumbs up and I'll get it, right? So Zoho, real time. Synchronous, right? Zoom, real time. Google Meets, real time. Secure Stream, real time. Okay? Or we could use things like WhatsApp, real time. I chat, you respond immediately, right? Slack is also there. Then we have a synchronous tools, which are not real time, and they can be less interruptive, right? So I don't get immediate feedback when I send an email, for instance. It might take you what, 30 minutes to actually read the mail and respond to me. So you don't have to stop whatever you're doing just to respond to me immediately. You also have things like product management tools or project management tools. There are a lot of them like Jira, Trello, Asana, name it. There's a lot that you can actually choose from to help boost communication in your teams. Now, these tools needs to have or follow the best practices when we're using them. When we say best practices, what are we talking about? We're actually saying you should set guidelines, okay, for how these tools are used. Set guidelines for how these tools are used, okay? establish procedures on tool usage. If we're going to be using Slack, I send you a message between the hours of 9 to 5. Please respond at the latest 10 minutes after my message drops on your phone or on your Slack, device. Okay, that's a guideline. Because if you do not, the real-time synchronous Slack can quickly become asynchronous. Okay, and then you don't hear back from someone for 2 days, right? That's not really cool. So you need guidelines on using these tools. Define response times and availability. Within the hours of this and this, we expect to be available to communicate on our Slack channels, or our email guideline states that your subject line should be clear. Start with a capital letter, or uppercase letters ultra or something like that. You need to have guidelines in using your tools. Now, remote work and distributed teams. This has become a norm in our modern times since after the COVID. We have a lot of companies that work fully remote, and a lot of startups have been born from this remote working culture. You are able to have people working from all over the world, different tribes, tongues, name it, whatever they have different things they believe in, but they all come together in a remote team and work together. Now, what role does communication play in these teams, right? For the team to be able to succeed, you need to be able to communicate on a regular basis. The fact that you're remote still means you need to check up on each other or have daily meetings, like stand-up calls, or have weekly meetings, where you review what you've done. These are very important. And because it is virtual, your video should be turned on at all times. You need to have your videos turned on to maintain personal connection. If my video is turned off and I'm having a conversation with you on a virtual call, you really cannot tell my non-verbal cues, right? You might sense from my voice, but if I'm very good at acting, I might still say one thing, but my face is showing something totally different, right? So we want to ensure our videos are always turned on. In fact, it should be part of the guidelines for using these tools, right? The tools we use. Also, engage in virtual team building activities. Things like playing games together online as a team, engaging in challenges, having gifts at the end, have talk sessions together, coffee breaks. Those things are very important. Okay, and we should not actually take them lightly in our teams if we're going to grow. Now, strategies in working with remote teams, we want to use collaborative tools heavily. Okay, because working from different physical locations, we need to go to use tools that would help us work together seamlessly. And yes, Google Workspace does a lot of that, right? Google Workspace. I mean, we set up Google Workspace here at CIL as well for our clients. So you can always reach out to our team to help you set up your Google Workspaces. So Google Workspaces are very good for collaboration. You have your Google Drive, you have your Google Docs, Excel, and the likes. You can work together in real time wherever you are in the world, as long as you have your computer and the internet, or even your phones and the internet. Okay, so it is good to use tools like this heavily to ensure that your team grows. And besides that, also be sure to set clear goals and expectations. Do not let it be hazy. Okay, don't say, oh, we're trying to land 100 clients by December, and stop there. Be clear. We're trying to land 100 clients by December, and I will expect Paul to go to create these artifacts properly so that we're able to land at least 5 clients from this channel. I would expect Tom to go to do this properly. Like, you get the point. So let it be clear. Everyone has to understand what is expected of them. If you don't understand what is expected of you, the chances of being productive is actually very low. So everyone needs to understand. That's the way communication and build our remote teams. Now, talking about cultural and language differences. With remote teams comes the cultural diversity, which means we have a lot of people from different cultures and have language differences. So we need to be sensitive, right? Be sensitive. You might be working with someone from a location that believes in one thing that you abhor or you do not believe in. Always ensure you respect each other's cultures and norms. Okay? Be aware it's there, respect it, and have communications, outside of those things that could cause problems between you guys. Okay? In a culturally diverse teams, there is bound to be issues if we do not take into cognizance the fact that these multiple people are coming from different parts and they know different things or see things differently from the way I see them. For those that are not English speakers also, it is important that we use plain vocabulary when communicating. Very simple vocabulary. We want to be able to pass information across, okay? Because if you pass information to your team and they in turn, they have someone who doesn't understand properly, but does not ask you questions, he's going to go out and, create a disaster. And then come back and you have wasted a lot of time. And you remember what we talked about, waste of time, right? That's lots of money for your organization. And I don't think any of us will want to, be throwing money into the air, right? We do business to make returns. So that's very important. So you want to encourage your teams to share cultural backgrounds as much as possible. Plus, use visuals and diagrams to help with understanding. Now, if, for instance, I'm saying, so ensure that the box is a black box, right? And I have someone who is Spanish. Maybe black means something else, where he is from. He might not understand what I'm trying to say properly, right? So that would mean he might actually think it's black that he knows, and he might go ahead and do something, totally off point. But when I have a diagram showing black or showing green or showing red, he already automatically knows what I'm talking about. And if he doesn't, he can ask questions because of what he sees already. So it is really very important to take, the diversity of our teams into consideration when we are communicating. Now, conflict resolution. How do we resolve conflicts? Having people, even if you have more than 2 people in your teams, right? 2 people, you have more than 2 in your teams, you are bound to have conflicts. Because unless one of them is just, the quiet, yes sir kind of person, you must have issues. Because when you try to solve a problem, for instance, or fix something, or negotiate a deal or whatever, everyone has their own ideas. And if it's not managed properly, it leads to conflict. Now, if you as a member of that team, you are supposed to manage the conflict, what do? Do you come in and be like, I think you're right. You're right. No, that's not it. You're wrong. You just ended up increasing the problems, right? Coming out straight up and saying, no, you're right, you're wrong, doesn't really fix create a solution to that problem. So you want to avoid taking sides with anyone, okay? Be neutral. So you can create the ground for open discussion. Focus on finding what the underlying concerns are, and then get a common ground where you can both meet, where you can all meet at, and move on from there. When trying to resolve conflict, be sure to use I statements when expressing your feelings. It's important. You would rather say, I think what he's trying to say is we could have done this. Instead of saying, see, he's correct. He is correct. That can actually help in escalating it more. So we need to be actually sure. We have to use strategies like using I statements when expressing feelings, and ensure we listen to every party, okay, and make them know that they are heard. It's very important. All right. So, final thoughts and key takeaways from this. It's clear that we cannot overemphasize the importance of effective communication, right? There's no way an organization, a startup, would survive without communicating effectively among its team and among its business partners and clients. Active listening is very, very important for our team to grow, as well as giving constructive feedback. Do not give feedback to attack people. Give feedback that would help your team grow, and also receive feedback properly with an open heart. Using communication tools, we need to utilize proper guidelines, okay, in using these tools if we are going to be productive. And then, when resolving conflicts, let us be sure to take proper steps and precautions to ensure that we are fostering good communication and not escalating the problems. So, go ahead and be communication champions in your teams. And thank you. We'll take questions now.
Thank you so much, Leo, for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure we all enjoyed every part of the presentation. To our attendees, please, in the question and answer section, please drop all questions you have, and all questions will be attended to. While we are waiting for other questions to come in, Leo, there's a question for you that says, what resources do you have available for teams looking to improve their communication?
Okay, thank you. So, for teams that want to improve their communication, first most important thing, pick books and read, right? Read books. It's important. Look for books in communication. We have a lot of them from speakers and authors that are really interesting. Crucial Conversations, one of them, Radical Candor, Be a Kick-Ass Boss Without Losing Your Humanity. We have a couple of books like that. We also have online courses, Coursera, Udemy, LinkedIn, Skill Academy in the future too, right? We'll have courses like that you can also jump into. Take these courses with your teams, and you'll be able to communicate better. You also have workshops and webinars like this that can also help you, to communicate effectively, as well as coaches and consultants that you can bring into your teams to help you, guide your team in communicating effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leo. Another question says, what communication tools are best suited for startup teams? And is there any effective communication tool to help facilitate remote teams?
So tools of startup teams, we made, like we mentioned earlier, right? Could be synchronous or asynchronous. You want to pick things like, Zoho, like we're using right now. It could be Google Meets. It could be Slack. It could be Secure Stream. You know, you also have the asynchronous things like Trello, Asana, Jira, the likes. And you also want to be able to have ways to share files and collaborate, which I said Google Workspaces can do for you, which will also, help configure at CIL. You have things like Miro for collaborative brainstorming sessions, which you could also use. And to ensure that you utilize these tools properly, always ensure you have a guideline, processes to utilize these tools. Because if you do not have a guideline in using the tools are going to be abused. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Leo, for answering these questions, and thank you for that wonderful presentation. It was really insightful. And to our attendees, it is very important to unlock the power of effective communication for your startups. And if you want to discover the secrets to seamless communication in order to achieve your business goals faster, please don't forget to click on the link. We also recommend the best tools for communication for startups. So if you would like to get to know about all of these services, please don't forget to click on the link. Like I said earlier, it will direct you to a calendar where you can book a one-on-one meeting with any of our consultants, and we are always readily available to attend to. Now, if you're looking to build AWS cloud solutions and also manage your AWS infrastructure, we at Secure Intelligence Limited are your best go-to partners because we'll be providing you with the right tools and services to meet your AWS cloud needs. If you are new to AWS and the cloud, please don't feel left out because with our CIL Academy, you can learn and develop cloud-based skills and even become a certified cloud practitioner. Our CIL Academy has a range of services that can help you get started. We currently have a Zero to Techie program where you can start your career in cloud engineering, data engineering, and as well as front end engineering. We also have our AWS Skill Builder and our AWS instructor led training, where you can train individuals, corporate teams, and businesses on the relevant skills required to migrate, build, and manage your AWS cloud infrastructure. Finally, for those of you who are preparing for your tech certification exams, including your certified cloud practitioner and other advanced certification, we would like to introduce you to Wiz Labs, which is currently the leading exam readiness solution for you. It provides you with comprehensive study materials, over 25,000 practice questions, and hands-on lab and sandboxes to provide candidates with certification exams from leading technology vendors like AWS, Microsoft, and Google. Before we wrap up, I would like to say thank you to our speaker today for Leo. Thank you so much, Leo, for that outstanding presentation. And before we go off, please don't forget to book a one-on-one meeting with any of our consultants, and we are always readily available. Thank you so much. And please, I would like to encourage everyone to connect with us on every other of our social media channels. You can connect with us on Instagram at seal_team, on LinkedIn at seal in secure intelligence, on Twitter at seal_teams, on Facebook at seal teams, and on YouTube www.youtube.com/seal_teams. Thank you everyone once again for your participation, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.